Hello everyone. So from today I'm starting a series of video on data cloud and its unique features and how you can use them in your day-to-day activity. So in this very first video I'll first let you understand how you can set up data cloud in your Salesforce org and make use of external system to integrate data cloud with the external system to fetch the data from. For example, in our case we will use Amazon S3 as our external system from where we will fetch the data into our data cloud and visualize it and take many actions and utilize the unique features of data cloud going forward in the series of videos. So let's get started. First of all, you need to have a Salesforce org, and once you have the org, first the very first step you need to do is assign a permission set to your user. So the permission set name is data cloud admin. With this permission set you will be able to access all the features of data cloud in your org. Once you assign the permission set, you can start see this data cloud setup option here under the gear setup menu, and which will land up here into this page. There will be a button called get started which you need to click on, and this data cloud setup will automatically take care of everything once you click on the get started button. So this is how you will enable the data cloud in your org. Once you have enabled, now you will be able to access this data cloud app. As you can see, this will be start appearing here. If you have the permission set and the data cloud is enabled in your org, you will start seeing this app where you will find these many number of tabs which are related to data cloud feature actually. Now once we have the data cloud in our org, the very next thing that we will do is we will integrate our data cloud with Amazon S3 and fetch the data from Amazon S3. So for that you need to create a free account, or you can trial account in the Amazon AWS Amazon S3 and use it for your practice purposes. So this is how the Amazon S3 actually looks like. This is the AWS console site, and here if you click on S3 it will take you to this page. And Amazon S3, how it works is, it will have a bucket. As you can see, I have created a bucket is nothing but a, we can say, a subset of database or a directory. Inside this bucket we will have different folders. So these are the folders which contains my content. So I will use this content actually, resort booking data. This is my folder inside which I have few data like customer data as well as customer bookings. These are nothing but CSV files that I will retrieve from Amazon S3 to my data cloud using those features that I'll quickly come across. So as you can see, I have data stored into Amazon S3 in the form of CSV. I can show you how they look like. I've downloaded them and here they are. Customer data is nothing but, we can say, contacts. So the first name, last name, email, phone, birth date, and their customer ID. These are the information that is actually stored in the AWS here. Similarly, the customer bookings is nothing but what all bookings they have done. So these are some set of records which will let me know that booking ID. Again, the customer ID is the reference number of the customer, I can say, and then the check-in date, checkout date, and what was the mode of payment. All these informations are actually stored in AWS here in these two files. Now my job is to get this data and show in the data cloud or visualize in the Salesforce org. Then going forward we will act on those data, like we will nurture them, we will filter them out, and we will make use of that data into our data cloud. So before we can fetch the data, we have to establish the connection between Salesforce and AWS S3. Not Salesforce, we can say data cloud and AWS. So in the setup you need to search for other connections, other connectors. This is the term used here. So now we are establishing a connection between data cloud and AWS S3. I'll create a new connection here. I'll choose the Amazon S3 as my third party. There are some information that we have to provide in order to establish the connection between them. I'll name it as, let's name it as Amazon S3, and there are few information that we have to provide which are mandatory, without which you cannot actually establish a connection. So once you have your trial account in Amazon S3, you will also get access keys. This is nothing but client ID and client secret kind of thing which we have in the connected app. which you can find from here called security credentials. I've already noted them down in my notepad. I'll just make use of it. This is the connection, I mean client ID, or we can say AWS access key, and this is the AWS secret access key. One is access key and another is secret access key. So this I have already derived from my account that I have already created, and I told you it can be viewed from here, security credentials. Now I provided the detail. Now I need to provide the bucket name. So initially I showed you that there is a bucket that I created which contains my folders. So I need to mention from this bucket I need to fetch the data for my data cloud. So I'll just give the name of the bucket, and I have no further directory, right? I just have a bucket, and that bucket contains my folders, and those folders have my files. That's it. We'll just click on test connection, and you can see connection was established. This is what we have to do now. Save it. Now it will take some time to process until unless you start seeing that the connection was established here under the status. We can refresh it once, or it might take some time to get it done. Yeah, now it says it active. Now we can actually fetch the data from Amazon S3 to our Salesforce Data Cloud. Let's go to this Data Cloud app. Now I will create a data stream. Data stream is nothing but linking the data from external system to data cloud using the connector that we have just created. We'll create a new data stream, and as you can see Amazon S3 will start appearing here since the connection is already established. So we will have the option to select this. Let me click on next, and you can see we have to give some information like it will already get these details like this is the bucket from where we need to fetch the data, as we already gave during the establishment. And then we have to mention the file name, which data we need to, which file we need to retrieve. You see, under the bucket there are folders, and then inside the folders there are files. So this is the file that I need to fetch. I'll first fetch the customer data. So I'll just provide we can say it's like a URL path or the path of the folder. So it is inside the resort booking data, and the file name is customer data. You see, this is the path. The bucket is data cloud practical. Inside that bucket there is a folder called resort booking data, which is nothing but this one. Inside this bucket there is a resort booking data, and inside that resort booking data folder there is a file called customer data. That is what I have just given here. Now I'll click on next. Now here you can see it will already find the columns that are there in the Amazon S3 or AWS S3. These are the columns. I already showed you the file that what is actually being uploaded on their AWS site. So these are the columns that we have on the AWS. Data Cloud is smart enough to understand what all information is there. Now one of the most important thing here, we have to select the category of the data that we are trying to retrieve. Okay, so since the profile category means information about a person or a user. Okay, so this is customer data. That means it is the customer information or the person information. So we will keep this data under the category called profile. I will also let you know what is engagement category. So any data that is not related to a person but to a properties like getting the weather forecast of a region, then we can categorize that data under engagement. That engagement data actually is like time sensitive data which we receive readings. That's why it will ask for event time field. We will come to this later when we import the other data. Actually, for now we will choose customer reference ID as the key, primary key, because out of these all these columns there should be one column which will be unique and unique identifier of the row basically. So we'll choose customer reference ID as a primary key. And if you want to add your custom column here, you can create a new formula field if you want to. Otherwise, if you are happy with whatever columns you are getting from the external source are enough, then we can keep it as it is. Or you can create a new formula field for your purpose. Or like you want to create a full name, let's say you want to create a full name formula field to combine this first name last name, we can do it. But for now, let's move next. How much interval of time you want this data to be refreshed. So you can choose anything, but we will keep it as none for now. I mean, if you want this data to be refreshed after every 5 minutes or 15 minutes, then you can choose the frequency as you want. I think we are good now. I'll just click on deploy. So what it will do is, since we have the connection between data cloud and aws s3, it will import that customer data from there and store in the data cloud here. And as you can see, we created this data stream, which is now shows that the status is success. And these are the many number of records that have been retrieved from AWS S3, which shows under total records. If you go inside the data stream, here we can see under the refresh history, when was the last time the data was refreshed and how much time it took. You can see it took 2 minutes 58 seconds. And these are the many number of records that it have fetched. If you want to see the refreshed status of the data stream, you can simply click on this update status button, and if you it will update the status basically. Now just one more information, like as soon as you create a data stream, the data cloud automatically creates a data lake object for you, similar to the name as you mentioned in the data stream, resort booking data slash customer data.csv. Here under the data lake object, you will find the same record present here. So basically, the data stream acts as a intermediate connection between data cloud and external system, whereas data lake object stores the data that you are fetching using the data stream. Simple. It will data lake object will store the data that we are actually fetching from aws s3. Now the next very next question, how do we visualize the data that have been fetched, where we can see that data? Right, we know that the connection was established, data stream was created, and the synchronization is also done, but where to see the data? So there is a concept of data explorer tab here in the data cloud. You can just click on it, and then it's like a normal SQL query where you can query the records of a particular object. So as I said, the data lake object stores the data that is being fetched via data stream. So in the object, we will select data lake object, and here we will select our data lake object that was created, this one, customer data.csv. This is the profile data, as you can see here under the category. Let me select this, and we will arrange the columns in such a way that we get a better view. Let's remove unnecessary columns. Data source object, let's remove this internal organization and this. Okay, this should be pretty much. As you can see, the first name, last name, and email, as well as the customer reference id, there are few blanks as well. I might have ingested the blank rows as well in the csv file, but no worries, we will only look at the data that we are concerned about. So you can see in each of the rows the data source is also mentioned, from where it is being fetched, birth date, and then all the details as you were seeing here. So this is nothing but the same excel file that I am showing you here. I just uploaded it in the aws s3, and for this video I'm just importing the same data from s3 to data cloud. This is the same data actually, which I was showing on the excel sheet. So now we know, we have established the connection, we fetch the data, and we can see here. Now what next? We will continue discussing what will be the next stage of this functionality. We'll do a lot of things like, since these data already exist in Salesforce as contact records, we will merge them. Basically, we will unify them and to create an individual profile. That should be our next step. But before that, we also need to fetch the other data, that is customer bookings. I'll just create a new data stream. Again, choose Amazon S3 as my source. Here I'll give the directory name, which is nothing but the folder name, and then this time I need to query the customer bookings. It's in what, let's copy the name from here directly. Customer bookings. Okay, here I can copy the name. I'll just remove everything else apart from the file name and then click next. Again the same process, but this time this data is actually not a profile data. This is not the information about a person, rather it's an event. And if you're not sure that it's an event or regular time frame basis data, then you can categorize under other category. I will choose other if I'm not sure whether it's an engagement data or not, but I'm pretty sure that this is not a profile data because it does not contain the information of a person like email, phone number, and all those are person information. I'll select the primary key as booking ID. So as I said, there should be a unique row which will identify each row. Here it seems to be booking ID. I'll just quickly show you the exact data. How is it? So you can see booking ID here is actually the unique ID because a same person or the same customer must have done multiple bookings. You see, these are single customer and he has done three bookings. That is why there are three booking rows. And to identify or uniquely identify each row, booking ID is the unique identification of this particular data. Let's go back here. So I'll categorize this data under other category because I'm not sure whether it's engagement data, and we are pretty sure that it's not a profile data. Here again you can create a formula field if needed. If not, let's proceed. And the same steps, select the frequency if you want to, and we want to refresh the data stream immediately. As soon as I create this or deploy this data stream, it will run the execution. You can also name the data stream as you want to. Previously we forgot to utilize this, but now we can. Data, I have named this data stream as customer bookings. Let's deploy this. So our second data stream is now created, and you can see the status is in progress, that it is still trying to fetch the data from AWS here. If you want to keep refreshing the status to see the latest update, you can click on this until and unless it shows success here, and you will also see the total records will start appearing here. How many records have been processed? This data stream is also successfully processed, and we can see that 14 records have been processed. Now again, in order to visualize this data, we need to go back to the data explorer. But first, let's check that data lake object must have been created for this data stream. Here it is. You see, we created a data stream under the category of other, and it comes here as a customer bookings data lake object. Let's go to the data explorer again, select data lake object here, and this time we will select our other category date customer bookings data lake object, and we'll also arrange the columns so that we can visualize it properly. Internal, done. So you can see very clearly this is the booking ID, check-in and check-out date, customer reference ID, and this is the source of the data from where it has been fetched, and the payment mode. This is exactly the same data that I was showing you here in the Excel sheet. I have just uploaded this data into my AWS bucket that I created and then imported that data using data cloud from AWS. So now it is, I think, very clear how we can integrate our data cloud with Amazon S3 and fetch the data or synchronize the data between the two systems. This is just the beginning. Like, this is the very first step of creation of data stream and visualizing the data from there. The next steps will be to use of data model. Basically we will map the data streams, whatever records we have fetched, we will map them with a Salesforce Data Cloud 360 data model. There is a concept of 360 data model in data cloud. So all this data has to be mapped to something so that it can be organized in a proper way. We will make use of this mapping feature in our very next video. And Going forward, we will continue exploring more and more data cloud features like identity resolutions, calculation insights, data action target. These are many unique features of data cloud that we will be covering.